everyone. Hi, everybody at home. Hi, everyone in the real space. It's so good to see you way back in the back too. Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking time out of your really busy days to practice, be part of this community, take care of yourselves. We usually start on our back. So if that's a comfortable shape, it works for you. You can start on your back with your knees bent. If you'd prefer to sit, you can always sit upright, crisscross applesauce style. You can sit in a chair. If you're at home and you need to bolster up or grab a block or a blanket to sit on, please grab what you need if you wanted to sit. As always, especially if you're at home or in your office, look around, check, double check, triple check that your space is safe. There's no cords or books or anything slippery for you to slide around on. And that gentle reminder that you have total agency over this practice over the next hour or 45 minutes here. So if something doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't feel supportive or safe, please know you can back out anytime, okay? So if we're all doing something together, we're doing a sun salutation, we're doing an exercise, a yoga pose. If you're at home, you're in the room, it doesn't feel good, please, at any time, feel free to, come back to this shape, come back to standing, have a seat, rest, take care of yourselves. So starting on your backs here or in your seated shape, let's just take a couple moments to slow things down, and I'll let you define things. Those things might include your body, so feeling and slowing down your body. Your body finding some physical stillness. And oftentimes as we start with the body slowing down and finding stillness, it's a nice opening invitation for the breath. An opening and invitation for your mind. And this isn't to say that we won't have thoughts that arise, we won't have thoughts that linger and maybe draw us away from our bodies or from our breath. That's very normal, and that most likely will happen. Stillness is an invitation. So we'll give ourselves a few moments to connect to your own understanding of stillness. And as you're breathing and settling, perhaps you notice that the physical body is pretty darn still. I don't really see anyone in the room even wiggling around intentionally. But through that stillness is the breath. And so while we might not be intentionally moving our limbs or any parts of our body, the breath moves through the body, it moves tissues and bones. And so we'll all bring our attention up into our chests, out across the chest into the armpits, to the front of the collarbones. And reminding yourself there's no right or wrong answer here. Feeling and noticing a few breaths. So you're not intentionally lifting your arms or moving your collarbones. What do you feel as you breathe in and out across your chest into your collarbones? And taking some of that awareness down through the rib cage. We're not intentionally moving the rib cage or the spine. Noticing what you feel through your breathing, through the rib cage, into the back, into the spine. And drawing some awareness to the lower ribs, into the soft tissue of the abdominals and the belly, into the lower back. Again, we're not intentionally moving the lower ribs here. What do you feel through your lower ribs, the soft tissue, abdominals, front, side, back, body as you breathe? And then going down into your pelvis. As you're breathing, do you feel anything in your pelvis? Maybe down even into your pelvic floor, into your very low back, behind you into your sacrum and SI joints. You could take this feeling and awareness all the way down through your legs. And so this is one of those benefits, one of the hallmarks of yoga that we're going to try and practice with through the rest of the session, is this awareness of how the breath moves, how you feel the breath moving in your body. So as you feel your next exhale, taking your knees up over your hips and your arms up towards the ceiling, we'll just start by finding the shape of dead bug. So you'll bend your knees and you'll bend your elbows. So your feet will be facing the front of your mat and your hands will be facing the back of your mat. And then noticing and feeling your breath through your body again. It's your practice. So being curious, asking ourselves a few questions helps us stay present in the body. So pick a place in your body and be curious. Where do you feel the breath? And do you feel the breath still moving through? And with your exhale, then we'll straighten all the limbs up towards the ceiling. And with your inhale, we'll bend all the limbs back. We'll just do 3 like this. And then after 3, challenging yourself to go contralateral. Then you'll pick your right arm and your left leg and go up and bend. Left arm, right leg, exhale up, inhale, bend. And challenging yourself to move from the feeling of your breathing. And then the next time you have one arm up and one leg up, let's pause and come back to the feeling of the breath in your body. So again, we're not intentionally moving any bones. We're holding the bones pretty still. And then noticing how the breath still moves through. We can feel things moving with the breath. And then switch sides and hold. Again, we're not intentionally moving bones now. We're holding the bones, just following the breath through the body a couple breaths. And then when you're ready, bending all the limbs again and lowering them down to the floor. And then let's just stretch out your low back a little bit. Let's take your left leg and push your heel out. So your left leg's gonna come straight down on the floor. And we're gonna bring your right knee up into your chest and hug your knee up into your rib cage. Now, as your knee gets closer to your ribs, you might start to feel how your low back starts to press into the floor. And for this exercise stretch, that's okay. And then giving yourself a few moments again to still the bones and feel your breathing. So you might notice here as you exhale, how when you exhale, your collarbones flow down out of your ears. And this helps give the neck a little length. You might also feel how when you exhale, your ribs draw down and in, and this spreads the back ribs a little bit. If you'd like a little different stretch, taking your left arm up towards the ceiling and then overhead. Your left thumb might come to the floor. Try to keep your ribs down and in. So again, feeling your exhale, the collarbones flowing down out of your ears with your exhale, and the ribs, the back ribs especially, letting go into the floor. When you're ready, switching sides. You could hang out in that right side stretch a little longer, or when you're ready, right leg comes out straight, left knee draws in. Hug the left knee in. Right leg is down on the floor heavy. So if your right leg were more of a weight, you could press through your heel and even lengthen your right heel a little bit out of your right ear. As your left knee comes in, can you feel the low back pressing into the floor? And then noticing the fluidity, the flow, the movement of the breath through your bones, through your body. And as you exhale, those collarbones sliding down, the ribs knitting down and in. If you want to take your right arm up and overhead, can you take your right arm back and overhead, thumb down on the floor without popping the ribs up? So trying to keep those ribs down, 3 breaths. And then after those 3 breaths, letting your left leg come back, bending your right knee. Arms can come down to the floor, maybe hang out in your hips. Coming back to a moment of stillness for your body, putting your body back in that place of stillness. Intentionally holding your body still so you can again feel a connection to your breathing. 3 breaths. And then when you feel your next exhale, figuring out how you're going to roll all the way on up to sitting. And coming on up, we'll flip over and build tabletop. So as you build tabletop, if you're at home and you need to come up to a table or a chair for tabletop, go for it. You could use a wall. Same thing here. If you need to use a wall, you could go over to the ledge by the lake or use, one of the ledges. That might not be a ledge. You might want to go to the lake wall. Okay, so you're going to build your tabletop. If it's sticky like this in your wrist with flexion, feel free to make a fist and straighten out your wrist. Okay, so in your tabletop, we come back to this every week. We want to have that nice, strong, long feel of your back body, ears lifting up in line with shoulders, shoulders in line about the same height as your hips. Gravity wants to pull your rib cage to the floor. So understanding, feeling a little more of that abdominal rib knit connection as you exhale, ribs knit, draw together. Now you're going to pull those lower ribs up. And you're going to hold that for a while as we work with the hands and the wrists. We're just going to walk your hands around. You can walk your hands back to your knees. You could go out wide. Can't really do this one. Wrong. You're just moving around, shifting weight. And as you're doing this, starting to make that connection from your upper back. So you could feel your shoulder blades to your triceps, back of the arm, all the way down into your hands. You can shift weight. So as your arms, hands come out, if you wanted to bring your shoulders forward a little bit and load the wrists, hands a little differently, go for it. You could find rotation. You could externally rotate the arm bones, elbows and wrists, and walk around and shift weight. The whole time we're doing this, keeping the abdominals and the ribs in your awareness. So gravity wants to pull the spine to the floor. So as you move around with your arms, we're still working against gravity in our midsection. If you want to flip and walk on your knuckles, go gently. You could flip around and walk on your knuckles. And then as you're doing this, just remember everyone has their very own unique experience here. So what you're feeling is yours, okay? Some of us might be being like, oh, this is so great on my wrists. Others of us are like, why did I come here today? This is so painful. What is she doing? But we're having that experience and we're mindfully connecting to what we're feeling, noting it. And then we're going to come back. Good old tabletop. And then we'll take a fork in the road. So as you re-find your table, remember ears in line with shoulders. Shoulders, let's add ribs. So we have to pull those ribs up a little bit so they don't sag with gravity and arch the back too much. And then the hips. Your choice, you could push back to a child's pose, or you could tuck your toes under and do a floating table. Okay. So if you want to do a little more floating table, we're just going to tap the knees. And we're going to tap the knees about 5 times. And then we're going to press up and back to downward facing dog. So you can stay in a more restorative place, which is your child's pose. You could stay in a tabletop. You could come up to downward facing dog. I'm going to let your knees bend in dog and then take your butt back. And then whatever shape you're in, intentionally holding your bones in that space, in that place, in that shape to feel your body breathe. 3 breaths. And when you feel your next exhale, we're all going to figure out how to come on up to standing. So we'll take a little bit of time. Try and pay attention to the transition of coming up to standing. And then when you get up to standing, hanging out there and letting your energy settle, letting your breath settle. We'll take 3 breaths. So again, we're intentionally holding the body pretty still. And then each one of us is going to pick one place in our bodies that we feel our breathing. And we're just going to pause there for maybe 3 to 5 breaths for awareness. So we're all different. We'll all probably pick a similar, maybe different place in your body, finding that place, noticing what you notice through your breath. And just a gentle reminder, sometimes when we get curious about our practices, when we start to ask ourselves a lot of questions, we can become really judgmental. So checking in with yourself and practicing this curiosity from a place of mindful self-compassion. It's also a really nice way to start to practice gratitude and show appreciation for parts of our bodies. So we'll take 2 more breaths. And then we'll bring your hands into your hip creases. And you're going to draw your hip creases back and bend your knees a little bit. And we're just going to tip over and come back up 3 times. So going pretty slow, especially if you're really tight through your low back and your hamstrings. No need to overdo this. Some people have really long hamstrings and they can touch the floor with little effort. Some people have short hamstrings and tight hamstrings, and it's a little more challenging. And then when you come up, letting your arms hang, we'll take a wide stride. We'll take your heels in and your toes out, and we'll go up and down in your sumo squat 5 times. So you can move from your breathing again, feeling the breath. Inhale down, exhale up. If you'd like a little different challenge on the last 2 here, lift your heels just a piece of paper. So just a tiny bit. Great, and then we're going to add a challenge. So as I look around the room, there's a lot of us, we go down and watch my knees. When we come up, we're snapping the knees like that. So what if we add a moment of almost like meditation mindfulness? So as you come up, don't snap your knees. Stop right before they lock. Add some resistance. So as you go down, can you feel how your shins go forward? Now, as you come up, can you feel how your thigh bones pull back? So you have 2 opposing forces, shins forward, thigh bones back. And then as you come up, really paying attention to the knee. If you want to lift your heels a piece of paper, we'll try 2 more. There's a moment of mindfulness right before the knee locks. There we go. Notice, how does that feel for you? When the legs come up, then we're going to roll your left leg in, your right leg out. So taking your left leg behind you and feel your thigh bone in the hip. So you could put your hands on your hips and then define the thigh bone. You could push the thigh bone back a little bit, get a little bit of opening through that left hip. And then we're going to bend and straighten the right knee 3 times. And maybe add that piece of mindfulness. So as you straighten the right knee, we're not going to lock it. Can feel how the shins going forward, the thigh bones drawing back. And then on that third one, bend the knee to your capacity. Lift up through the front of your pelvis. So put your hands on your hip bones if that's helpful. Some of us might soften through the shoulders, the neck, the jaw, the eyes. And we're going to hold the bones still in this shape and take 3 breaths, noticing what you notice. Full exhale, straightening your right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. We're about heel to heel. So you could look down. Make sure you have some space for your hips, right thigh bone, right hip. So can you take your right thigh bone and push it back a little bit, lifting your hips up, and then 3 times, bending and straightening that left knee. That moment of mindfulness, that moment of awareness helps you stay in your body. And the next time that left knee's bent, pause. Can lift up through the front of the hips. Some of us might practice softening through the throat, the jaw, the chest. Holding this 3 breaths. Exhale, straightening the left leg, and then just stepping both feet together, letting your arms hang. And pausing again, so bones come back into stillness. We'll pause to feel our bodies breathe. I remember when I first started taking yoga and 5 breaths felt like a week. Thought we're going to be there forever. Just noticing whatever it is you're noticing. Great, then let's do half a sun salutation. Inhale, taking your arms out and up. Exhale if you need to, bend your knees a little bit, fold forward. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, fold. Optional downward facing dog. So if you want to walk your hands out and your feet back to your downward facing dog, go for it. You could also come up to standing mountain meditation or use a chair, a table, a wall for your down dog. When you find your downward facing dog, 3 breaths. And then after your 3 breaths, hands and feet start to walk together. We'll slowly come all the way on up. We'll pause to all catch up with each other. Putting our bodies back in some stillness, intentionally holding your bones still to feel the breath move through your body for 3 breaths. Stepping your feet wide. Left leg rolls in, right leg rolls out. Go about heel to heel again. And lifting up through the front of the pelvis, exhale, right knee bends. Pause. All right, we're going to take your arms out in front of you like you're going to do a handshake. And just in space here, can you feel your ears draw back in line with your shoulders? So it's easy to have pitch head. So feeling your body in space, ears back with shoulders, shoulders over ribs, over hips, like tabletop. So maybe from your ears to your hips, you can rebuild like a vertical table. And then if you want more or different challenge, open your arms up. Your right arm will float high above your right knee. And your left arm will float high above your back left leg. And then with an exhale, remember that feeling of Ooh, the collarbones dropping out of your ears. Take an exhale and let your collarbones release out of your ears. With your inhale, bring your arms back in front like you were going to do a handshake. Good. Then we're going to stretch up to the ceiling. And we're going to tip at your hip, right elbow or right hand, build your side angle shape. So elbow or hand to your right knee. If your left arm doesn't feel good in your left shoulder here, bend it and just bring it to your ribs. 3 breaths. Hold your bones in this shape to feel the breath. Exhale, come all the way back up, hands to your hips. Right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. Go about heel to heel. And exhale, bending your left knee, pausing. Lifting up through the front of the hips, bringing your arms out in front of you. Giving yourself a moment to build your vertical table. So ears drawing back with shoulders. Trying not to let your ribs pop forward, ribs over hips. And then you can open the arms, shoulder blades retract, draw together. Left arm floats over the left knee. Right arm floats back. Just a little different challenge on this side. As you exhale, letting the collarbones again slide or release out of your ears, but also feeling those back right fingers. Maybe even pulling the right fingers back a hair. Exhale, coming back, arms in front, double handshake, arms lift up to the ceiling. When you're ready, at the hip, tip elbow or hand to the left knee or thigh bone. Right arm can reach up if that's too much for the shoulder. Bend your right elbow, hand on your ribs. 3 breaths. Exhale, come all the way on up. Sweet, keeping your feet wide. We'll just steer your toes forward. Exhale, swing your arms up nice and tall. Moment of mindfulness for your knees. Are you locking your knees? It's quite easy to do if you're really flexible. So our arms are like levers. It's going to be a little more weight. We have to get stronger. So as you fold over, we're folding, not falling. So kind of work against gravity. You don't have to touch the floor. If you're at home and have a chair, you could put your hands on a chair. If it's too much to touch the floor, that's why you have thigh bones. And this time we're going to try and let your head really hang. Your hair is hanging over. Imagine your hair's heavy. Mindfulness in the knees. So finding that little tiny micro bend, just like we did earlier. Shins are going forward. Thigh bones are drawing back. Tuck your chin. You could hold this shape for, 5 minutes. It would be really different at the end of 5 minutes. Inhale, lift your chin, lift your chest. Good. Exhale, slowly come all the way on up. Keep your feet wide or step them together, whatever feels most automatic and supportive. Arms hang down by your side. Putting your body back in intentional stillness. Giving ourselves a moment to let your minds come to your breathing. Follow your breathing. So I had a teacher say once that the breath was like water moving through pipes. So the breath moving through your body, similar to water through pipes. 3 breaths. And then walking to the back of your mat. When you're ready, inhale, arms flow out to come up. Exhale, little bend in your knee, folding over. Once again, let your head hang, maybe even tuck your chin. Inhale, peel your chest up a little bit, look up and pause. Bend your knees quite deep. Bring your hands up onto your thigh bones and shift the weight into your heels. Look forward, slide your shoulder blades down your back. Remember, gravity is trying to pull your back and your ribs to the floor. So here's a really awesome opportunity to resist that and work a little more in your core. So finding your lower ribs, draw your lower ribs up. Trying to get a little more width in the back floating ribs and the kidneys. Navel can come up. 3 breaths, shoulder blades, gently down your back, pinned, strong. Different challenge. You can take your hands back behind you, palms face up. Okay, then you're gonna fold over, pull your fingers back out of your ears to get a shoulder stretch and tip over. If your shoulders are tight, take your arms wider. Palms, fingers up. So it's kind of like you're high-fiving the front of your mat. And you're pulling your fingers up, up, up to the ceiling to pull your shoulders out of your ears. Then each one of us exploring, what does it feel like when you shift the weight into the balls of the feet? Ah, I almost fell forward. And then shifting the weight back a little bit. You want to make sure your chin's tucked and you're looking between your legs. Exhale, ooh, let your arms come down. Ooh, find downward facing dog or tabletop. Intentionally put your body in a place of stillness. Breathing authentically, even with your mask on, can be a challenge. So acknowledging that, finding authentic breath. Your body's in a place of intentional stillness in the shape you picked. 3 breaths. And then we'll slowly all make our way back to tabletop. And then starting at the top of your head. So feeling the crown of your head, lengthening out of your tailbone. Lift your ears up about as high as your shoulders. Try to keep your ears as high as your shoulders as you tuck your chin, okay? So you're gonna slowly tuck your chin and try not to drop your head. You might feel a little more stretch or length in your upper back. And then you're gonna round your middle back and round your low back into your cat. And hold your cat. And when you intentionally hold the cat, notice the breathing. Then with an inhale, lift the face and pull your chin forward. So you're going to go down your spine into your cow, but try not to drop your head. And then you can trickle down your spine into your cow. Even here though, in your cow, you're still working with the rib cage against gravity, okay? And then hold your cow and feel your breath. And then go a little quicker, a little faster, flowing through cat-cow 3 times. As you move through your cat-cow, noticing what you notice. If there's somewhere in the cat-cow you really want to hang out and stay, hang out and stay. We'll come back to tabletop. Great, and then we're just gonna press back onto your heels. So you're just gonna sit back on your heels and come on up. So you're kind of sitting back on your heels. Now, if this does not work for your feet, you'll adjust, right? This doesn't always feel good for people. So you could tuck your toes and sit all the way back. Okay. You could also come if you're at home and sit in a chair. So we're going to take your hands into your hip creases, and we're just going to work a little bit on opening the front of the hips. We're just going to do 5. So you're going to push down. Down's going to create a sense of up. If you want a little pelvic hip extension, pubic bone's going to push forward. Ribs are going to knit back. And then you're just going to sit back. Okay, so it's like you're doing a little knee weightless squat. Working in the hips. 3 more with your breath. The next time you sit back on your heels, we'll pause. And if this is really uncomfortable, you'll adjust. And cross your hands onto your collarbones. Let things slow down again intentionally. Just letting the body find some stillness. Feeling your breath. With an exhale, we'll twist gently around to the right. Holding. Sit bones, butt bones, nice and heavy. Back to center, over to the left. Try not to move your pelvis, so the awareness of those 2 hip bones staying more straight ahead, rib cage, shoulders twist. One more time, all the way around to the right. Define, understand where your pelvis is. Try to keep your pelvis straight ahead. We don't want to twist in the low back. Come back around to the left. And back to center. Awesome. Coming to a comfortable seated shape or lying on your back, your choice. So if you want to come all the way back on your back again, wonderful. If you prefer to be crisscross applesauce sitting, that's wonderful too. So each one of us is really different. So we just want to bring ourselves back to a place of physical stability and grounding. And we're going to hold the bones intentionally still again. And as you hold your bones in intentional stillness, feeling and noticing the breath move through your body. And practicing mindful self-compassion, bringing loving kindness, appreciation, gratitude into our bodies. So bringing awareness to your head, your neck, down into your shoulders, your collarbones. What do you feel here through your breathing? And as you feel the breath in this upper body, showing some gratitude and appreciation. And adding the throat, the ribs and the lungs, the heart. Feeling the breath here. As you feel the breath, practicing gratitude. Gratitude for your heart, your ribs, your lungs, your voice. Going down into your abdominals and your organs, into your pelvis, breathing, showing gratitude. Being thankful for the pelvis, the pelvic floor, the hips, the legs. So much gratitude for the soles of our feet and our toes. Taking a few breaths. Just settling here, feeling and noticing. We'll take just a few moments in silence. And noticing whatever you're noticing, bringing that awareness back to your body, breathing. And if you're on your back, feel free to slowly start to bend your knees and really hug your knees way up into your chest, giving your low back some stretch. If you're seated, feel free to take your arms out and up and do a little overhead body shoulder stretch. And we'll all slowly roll on up and find our way on up to sitting. Thank you all so much for showing up online, for showing up in person. It's really nice to see new faces today. Thank you so much. High fives and namaste. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you on Tuesday. Take care.